Yeah, medicine is first mentioned in the Bible when God gave Moses 2 tablets. Okay, lo seesaw. That is the third commandment given at Mount Sinai. And what it does, it deals with Hilul Hashem, which is desecration of the name. And the command says this: you shall not take the name of Hashem your God in vain, for Hashem will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. I don't know about you, but I've heard a lot of people talk about, don't murder, don't steal, I am the Lord your God, but when it comes to drashos, I've never heard anybody give this before. So I use quite a few different sources, so I'll kind of go through those as I go along. But one of the things that all the commentaries state is, of all the commandments, this is the one that we need to be the most concerned about. This is the one that we need to take carefully and consider. In fact, the other two, the first two commandments actually point to this one. So this seems to be kind of the pinnacle of all the 10. Now, Rambam's Hilchos Shavuos, chapter 12, that's from the Mishnah Torah. It's kind of voluminous, and when I die, I'll give it to one of you guys. But chapter 12 talks directly about this. So if you don't mind, I'd like to spend just a couple minutes, and I'm going to quote him. Chapter 12, and this is going to be the first 3 parakim, I guess, or pasukim, actually. Okay, although a person who took a false oath or an oath in vain is given lashes, and similarly, one who takes a false oath brings a sacrifice, they do not receive complete atonement for the sin, as Shemos 27 states, God will not cleanse one who takes his name in vain. Kind of wrap your head around that just for a second. He will not be absolved from the judgment of heaven until he receives retribution for the desecration of his great name. Now ask yourself this question: what is the judgment from heaven? No, I'm not. No, I mean, it's like, well, if you want the answer, I think it's your death. Is what it comes down to. Therefore, a person must be very careful with regard to this avera, more so than in regard to all the other averos, the other 612. Pasuk 2 says, this sin is considered one of the severe transgressions, although it does not involve kares or execution by the Sanhedrin. It involves the desecration of Hashem's holy name, which is more severe than all other sins. And then number 3, when a person takes an oath by the heaven and earth, by the sun or the like, this is not an oath, even though his intent is he who created them. Similarly, one who takes an oath by one of the prophets or by one of the texts of the Holy Scriptures, this is not an oath, even if his intent is he who sent the prophet or he who gave the commandments in the text. Now, Ramban's third point mentions 2 groups of items. Heaven, earth, and the sun is the first group, and these are items that can't be moved. And then he mentions prophets and Sofrim Kedoshim, items that can be moved. Now, separated items in this manner has halakhic significance, but that deep dive won't benefit us today. But I just wanted you to know that what he did was, halakhically, he said these 2 groups of items you can't base an oath on them. Nechama Leibowitz, of holy memory, was a Gaon for our time. Now, in 1956, this lady, she won the Israel Prize in Education because her work helped further understanding and appreciation of the Bible. And in 1983, she was the co-recipient of the Bialik Prize, which is a literary prize from Tel Aviv. And she won that for Jewish thought. And she authored 7 books, 5 of which are her studies in Torah series. Now, what's interesting is it says 5, but I've got 6 of her books because Shemos is separated into 2 volumes. So in her book on the studies in Exodus, she wrote this: the expression, you shall not take, you shall not take the Lord's okay? Yeah, the expression of you shall not take literally is you shall not lift up, lo sisa, and has been variously explained, the prohibition implied and applied to a multiplicity of spheres. Our sages interpreted it, first of all, as a form of oath. This is how they explained it with reference to a parallel and apparently synonymous passage in Leviticus. Now, what she's referring to is Leviticus 19. And so the Sifra ties the Leviticus verse to 20, verse 7 in Shemos together and says this: you shall not swear falsely by my name. Leviticus 19:12. There it is. What need was there for this text when it already has been stated, you shall not take the name of Hashem your God in vain? You might have thought that one is not culpable except where his specific name, the Tetragrammaton, is mentioned. Where does a prohibition apply to the names of God? When the text says, by my name, coming from Leviticus. So that implies whatever name he has, you cannot make a vow. Ms. Leibowitz further states, what is the exact meaning of lashav? Two explanations have been suggested for this word. Onkelos gives two different renderings. The first, shav, he mentions in vain. The second, falsely. Consequently, it is not only the false oath that is forbidden, which is perjury, but the unnecessary one, the oath regarding a matter that is public knowledge and therefore entirely superfluous. Yeah, that wall is a wall. Kind of silly. And this is the gravest of all sins. This doesn't mean that you can ignore all the others or that they carry no merit. This means that this one, lo sisa, gives fuel to the others. Without this mitzvah, the others lose some of their intensity and their importance. Or to put it another way, all the other commands support and lift up lo sisa. Ibn Ezra explains the severity of pointless oaths in depth as he states, just as the name is true, so should your words be true. If you do not keep your word, this is tantamount to repudiating the name. Now, I do want to say one thing. That doesn't mean that we can't joke around. That doesn't mean that we can't have fun or say stupid puns. That's not the point, okay? I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Luzzatto offers another reason for the insertion of a punishment for this mitzvah. The perjurer does not fear the laws of man because people will believe him. His perjury will usually seldom be found out. It is for this reason the text adds that though he may be held guiltless by man, he will not be exonerated by the laws of heaven. So why is the vain use of Hashem's name so bad? Well, with its misuse and overuse, it loses its power and its fear and its respect. That's why we say Hashem, or we say Elohim, because when we vainly use his name, it becomes just another word. So what does his name mean? Why is his name so important? Ramban says that the use of name, we mean reputation. Hashem, his name is how he is manifest and identified in this world. He has given promises, he has published the foundations of truth, and he places his name on those as undeniable and irrefutable fact. His agents on earth, whomever they may be, do not garner the permission to alter any of these conditions, ever. This is why the simplest argument to God and to stay his hand of execution is to say, well, you can't do X, even though you should, because of what people will say about you. Shemos 32 is the most illustrative of these examples. God was going to destroy all of us except Moshe and his family. And here's a quote. Hashem said to Moshe, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Stiff-necked? That means idolatrous. Therefore, leave me alone so my wrath may burn against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation. And Moshe implored before Hashem his God and said, Hashem, why does your wrath wax hot against your people, whom you have brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand. Why should the Egyptians speak, saying, for this reason did he bring them forth, to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your wrath and relent from this evil against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, your servants, whom you promised by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven. And all of this land that I have spoken of, I will give to your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. So what did Hashem do? Well, the text says Hashem relented of the evil that he said he would do to his people. So that's an example of using you can't do X because of Y. 6 times in the Torah, in the Tanakh at least, this kind of language is used in negotiations with Hashem. And 6 times, in 5 times it works. It saves us from the Heta Egel, it saves us from the Meraglim, and it saves us in Ha'azinu, the Song of Moshe, from last week. Because it states, I thought I would make an end of them. I would make their memory cease from among men. Were it not that I dreaded the enemy's provocation, lest their adversaries should misdeem, lest they should say, our hand is exalted, and not Hashem has wrought all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern their latter end. Now, when I translated it, I tried to make it kind of poetic. I don't know if I made it or not. But the question is, why does this kind of language keep working on Hashem? The notion of Chilul Hashem, well, actually, Kiddush Hashem, is central to the existence of the world. Ramban says the world was created so people would recognize God for their benefit, not for his. Otherwise, there is no purpose to creation. There is a value for being outside of God and recognizing God. Lo Sisa is not just a mitzvah, it is the mitzvah. It is a fundamental value upon which all other values are oriented. This is the point of the world. It is because it is the whole point. God has allowed his hand to be forced in service to his reputation. When his reputation is threatened, it undermines the purpose of creation, undermines the purpose of the world. It is the overarching value in the world. I don't know if I can say that any other way. Since shame is the substantiation of God's reputation, to misuse it will produce results that you will not like. The mystical, powerful, Kabbalistic leanings here is very possible, and it's discussed quite extensively. I won't go there. The meaning is part of the cheshbon, though. The simple pashat name is a means by which we identify ourselves, through which we create a reputation, and we get this proclivity from our Creator, who embodies reputation and honor. Now, Richard Dawkins. Ever heard of Richard Dawkins? Okay. Yeah, he wrote a book called The God Delusion. And this, if anything, defies Kiddush Hashem. So he wrote this. He said, the God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capricious, malevolent bully. Let's try to say that in one breath. I can't do that. This is as strong a Chilul Hashem that I've ever seen. And this is the most effective way to break Lo Sisa that I have ever seen in my life. Ibn Ezra says, were this the only transgression Israel were guilty of, It would suffice to prolong the exile and add insult to our injuries. I shall not show you our madness. The murderer, at least, when he murders his enemy, has satiated his desire for vengeance. The adulterer, too, has also, for the time being, and so has the thief, found satisfaction for his need, and the false witness to appease himself, to get even. But one who swears falsely at all times, when not under oath, publicly profanes the name of Hashem without any benefit to himself. This mitzvah is so central, it needs to inform our actions and our thoughts. When we create ourselves a reputation of a follower of Hashem, of Torah, of the oral Torah, of Moshiach, you intrinsically tie Hashem's reputation to yours. And your actions will either polish or tarnish his reputation. And that is something Hashem cares about very much.